As the weather warms up, shorts, swimsuits, and perhaps less can be seen on social media. People flaunting what they have or editing in what they don't have. The pressure is on, and the struggle with body image is real and can be especially hard for many this time of year. Joining us now to explain how to overcome body insecurities is Dr. Shahani. Good morning, doctor. Thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate your time.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, I know you're a psychiatrist with UTHealth Houston, and part of what it is you do is facilitate conversations like this when it comes to people who struggle with body image. So talk to us about, the societal pressure and how it's increasing on social media, and how we as a society, as individuals, can rise above, move beyond this influence.
To begin with, body dysmorphia or body image disorder is a problem where people don't feel satisfied with their body. They might feel that there's something missing in their body. They might feel that, people are judging them based on a small flaw in their body image. And it's just what we say is an internal process, which means that, things might not be that bad, but a person might just be kind of over-exaggerating some of their own thoughts and causing negative consequences on themselves. The one thing that we mention to everybody who deals with these thoughts is be comfortable with what you are. As long as you are healthy and physically functioning at a good pace, I think that's what's most important. We've all been created differently, and the most important thing for us is to be thankful for us being here, but also be satisfied with the body image or the body that the higher power has given us. So I think that's a conversation that we have with most of our patients who deal with body image disorder.
And to embrace those differences, to lean into them, to understand why we all are different and why we all are unique. When we typically have this conversation, the focus falls greatly on girls and women, but this stress is also casted upon men. There's a lot of pressure for men to be fit, to have those chiseled bodies, those six-pack abs, big arms, etc. So men are not excluded from this conversation, and oftentimes this is when the conversation can get a little more uncomfortable because men don't like to talk about these types of things.
No, you mentioned it exactly correctly there. So what we've seen in research studies and and the prevalence studies that we've done, that body image disorder actually impacts males and females equally. So, your point of previously we thought it impacted females more than males is actually gone now. It's impacting males and females equally. And a common age group that we're seeing this happening now is early teenage or early adulthood. So, teenagers 13 and above to like mid-20s is where we're seeing most of our patients present to us with.
And we know too, yes, it is broken up into age groups, but I'm in my mid-30s and I see people my age really struggling with their self-image and portraying themselves on social media in a way that's not accurate to who they are in reality. And so tailoring this conversation is also helpful.
Exactly. And I think, with this current generation, social media does put a lot of emphasis on the way you look, because that's what social media does. It's all very physical based rather than a social interaction where you can be assessed based on your physical looks, but also based on your personality. So I think, zooming the conversation away from social media and, portraying yourself for who you are, what the entire package is something that's really essential for us.
Is body dysmorphia or someone who struggles with body image, is there a clinical diagnosis in that these individuals can get help? Is there talk to us about the diagnosis and prognosis here.
No, very important point. So, body dysmorphic disorder is actually a diagnosis. It's a part of obsessive compulsive disorder. We all know about, obsessive compulsive, where we are obsessed with one particular part. And in severe conditions, body dysmorphic disorder can be obsession with the way you look. It could be where you are trying to go and see yourself again and again in a mirror, or completely avoiding a mirror because you really don't want to see yourself and not want to have a negative consequence in yourself. Also, some people try avoiding social settings because they are so overwhelmed with the way they look that they don't want to present themselves in a social setting. So it's also important to know that body dysmorphic disorder also kind of starts rubbing hands with an eating disorder, because people get so obsessed with their body that they start following unhealthy eating habits, which leads to an eating disorder. People who have a body dysmorphic disorder become either so sad with their body image or become so worried with their body image that signs of depression, signs of an anxiety disorder, signs of suicidality start all mixing in with this problem. So, in severe cases, body dysmorphic disorder needs to be addressed. We treat it pretty similarly to how we would treat an anxiety disorder and an obsessive compulsive disorder. There are certain medications that are approved for obsessive compulsive disorder that are also used for body dysmorphic disorder. There are certain cognitive behavioral therapies, certain psychotherapies that are that are researched and evidence-based when it comes to treating such kind of obsessions.
Okay, Dr. Shahani, thank you so much for your time this morning. We do appreciate it.